Welcome to the show. Now please strap in for the truth and remember the words of the great Tom Cruise.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now welcome to Off Topic on Porn.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever this may find you, OTOP family. We are back for another episode. I am one of your two hosts. I am Rob Looper here with my buddy and cohort in this endeavor, Russell. How's it going, buddy?
Going good, Rob. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Where this finds you and I is in the evening on the first night of Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
So
That's
happy
right.
Hanukkah to you, sir.
And happy Hanukkah to you.
So,
Chag
Sameach.
Sameach.
Chag Sameach to you, my friend, and hope you're having a good first night of Hanukkah.
I am.
And we are. So, we
I hope you are too. You and your family.
Yeah, we enjoy Hanukkah. And it's interesting. If you are an Adam Sandler fan, you know about the Hanukkah songs. It is the only time my wife will allow me to break out those songs. So those are coming out.
I actually listened to it and watched the video last night of him.
Which version? Which version?
Well, the one where he had Norm Macdonald next to him.
Okay. All right. So I think that's version one. There's three versions, and then there's actually a fourth. So there's actually four versions of that song. So he keeps bringing in with each version different people who are different Hollywood people who are Jewish. So
I'll have to go in and fish for.
Yeah, you have to go in and fish for new ones. But yeah, when you sit next to Norm Macdonald is always a classic.
And the late Norm Macdonald, he passed away not so long ago.
Oh man, you know what? I did.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, I did
unfortunately.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald was a funny guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, so
he was a funny guy. He was a good guy.
Yeah,
too.
but so anyway, it's interesting though. Because Adam Sandler, there wasn't any like, we have all these Christmas movies and all these
right.
different things and then there's even cartoons. You have the little, so Adam Sandler made 8 Crazy Nights. It's a cartoon. Now, I haven't really seen it. Please don't go watch it on my recommendation. I haven't seen it. I just know about it. I know I've heard it's funny. I don't know. Please don't go watch it and leave comments saying, why would you ever recommend that? I didn't recommend it. I'm just letting you know he made it. So yeah, those kind of things. Again, Adam Sandler.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen, from Rob Looper, the one and only.
That's it. So but again, Adam Sandler has been a interesting, very outspoken Jewish figure in Hollywood.
Yeah, so. He really has been.
So anyway,
and that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it does do a good thing for our Jewish people. So again, me being a Jewish person, but
yeah. So and I say that as someone who's not. So there you go.
There we go.
We have both sides of the Jew-Gentile equation here.
Solidarity on
offering
that.
commentary.
So, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, but yeah, it's the first night of Hanukkah. If you celebrate Hanukkah, we wish you a happy first night of Hanukkah. Chag Sameach to you. If you don't, it's okay.
Well, and I also, I think you do too. I also celebrate the birth of the Messiah.
We do. So it is the Christmas season.
Well,
so we will, when it's time, we will be wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So yeah, we do both. So in our house.
And like last year, there was an overlap.
Yeah, this year there's not. But
no, this year there isn't. But last year there was, that's happy. I call it Christmonica when that happens. And
there was a year that I'm just for safety. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but there was a point at which Hanukkah and Thanksgiving and everything coincided, with my wife's birthday, and so it was a real.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a whole big deal for her. Yeah, so it was.
Yeah.
It was a whole deal. So, but yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, Hanukkah, the way that it moves, gets you into some real interesting stuff sometimes. But it was really.
Yeah, there is a teaching that is, I think, interesting and probably worthy of exploring. That asks the question or seeks to answer the question: if there were no Hanukkah, could there be Christmas?
That's an interesting question, by the way, and I think
and the reason it's asking that question is because the Maccabean era gave way to, and what happened with the temple gave way to what happened in the first century, and also what happened in the renovation of the temple and what we read about, King Herod.
Yeah.
And then Jesus walks actually into that temple.
Yep.
And then there's in John chapter 10 the reference to Hanukkah, the feast of dedication in the winter, when Jesus was at the temple. So anyway, and that's just the beginning. That's not the point of this particular podcast here, but this episode. Yeah, it's an interesting question from a historical perspective.
Yeah, no, it is.
Maybe we will still be in Hanukkah.
Yeah.
This time next week, maybe we should consider talking about that.
That might be a fun little holiday episode. Can you have Christmas without Hanukkah? Maybe you and I will do that next week. Stay tuned. You never know.
Never know.
And then we can get all the controversies about Christmas going too. You know what I mean? Well,
that's all. Boy, how many hours do we want to spend on that particular episode?
Debunking all and even some of the things I think that aren't the valid ones that you debunk when the traditions inside of Christmas, and then you have the let's not do it at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All the different things that you and I talk about that we just again coming at it from the logical perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where we just, I'll give, we'll briefly do one before we talk about the thing we're talking about with the first night of Hanukkah. But interestingly enough, where people go, well, you shouldn't even celebrate it at all. It's a, the pagan holiday. We go all the way back, and you've debunked it for me many times. We've talked about it. And here's my take on it. You know what? If somebody wants, if people decide, let's set apart a day, we know that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. We know. But that's fine. Let's set aside a day in which we decide we want to try to get the world to celebrate and recognize the Messiah came and he was born of a virgin. And we want to recognize that story. And we want to say thank you. I'm really not sure why that's a bad day. You know what I'm saying? And again, especially because people go, well, it was a pagan holiday first. I don't care. I'm not going to give the devil
actually
his day.
It wasn't, but that's here again.
Right,
more and more history is coming out to show that that's actually not really
right. I know, and
probably what happened. So
no, and see, but the point becomes,
and here's the thing: people say, well, you have liberty,
right,
to celebrate it or not, and I agree with that. That's a biblical
full
principle.
Liberty, absolutely.
But here's the thing, and I'm just going to call it out.
Yeah,
when people decide not to, I have found that their reason for not doing it as they exercise their liberty is always based, at least the people I've talked to, and I've talked to a number of them over the years, it's always based on one of the false reasons that is historically inaccurate, but they just can't let go of it. They read some populist book out there by some group or some person that has thoroughly convinced them.
Sure. Now, Russell, I'll tell you this, though, for those people who, well, you're just one side. No, I have problems with Christmas, and let me tell you my problems. And you tell me what you think. I have a problem with the commercialization of Christmas.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so here's my
thing. So did the Charlie Brown Christmas episode,
Right. But I think it's from that. And think about this, Russell. When was the last time that when you were invited to a birthday party, because that's what really it is. It's the celebration of the birth of Jesus, okay? When was the last time that when you were given an invitation to somebody's birthday party, you said, that's awesome, that's great. In celebration of that, I'm going to send you all of my want list and expect that to be filled. What I find odd about Christmas is if we're going to celebrate the Messiah, which I think we should, by the way, let me be clear.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should. We do all the things in that season that are not on Jesus's list. He says, owe nothing to no man. We go into more credit card debt. The credit card debt is higher than it's ever been in any other season of the year.
Yeah.
There is more
highly commercialized.
Commercialized. There's also more depression. There's not the spreading of joy. People are also much more selfish, much more self-centered, all of the things that it seems Jesus says not to do, we kind of start going and we start doing because just what you said, we've commercialized it and we've taken
that's because when humanity and its human nature get a hold of anything, it mangles it.
Sure. No, and I agree.
Because that's the nature of the sin. That is what the sin nature does.
Yeah.
And so when you say we, I assume you mean the human race.
The human race, yes,
Because
not you,
actual
me
believers
Yeah.
in Jesus and Yeshua,
Yeah.
who actually are trying to remember the Lord and
Yeah.
his birth and him, God manifested in the flesh, coming into the world
Yeah.
so that the world might be saved. Those that are actually trying to observe that probably are not in a lot to a large extent what you're talking about.
No,
But you're right. Human nature violates the very principles
it does.
that baby in the manger grew up to teach.
Yeah, and I wish
Later on.
we could all remember in a greater way. And I try to do this, and we try to do this with our boys, and we try to do it in general. Even with Hanukkah, is an attitude that just is more humble, is more grateful, looks outward. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
that's what Jesus taught us to do. Look outward. How can I help somebody in need? How can we reach out? How can we be of service in God's kingdom? How can we,
Yeah.
I call it, how can we start crossing things off of Jesus's want list? You know what I'm saying? What off of I wouldn't call it a wish list, but it's a visual that people will understand. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
if Jesus had a wish list for his birthday, how can we start getting him things off of his wish list? Well, he says, if you love me, you'll obey my commands. So what are those commands and what can we do? And we try to make sure that we're doing those, especially all year round. Yes,
Yeah.
obviously, but even more so if we're going to say, hey, we're going to celebrate your birth. It's, your birthday, not that Jesus has, but you know what I'm saying. And so even more so in this season where we're saying, hey, you are the reason for this season. So that just a little preview. If we do could you have
Yeah.
Hanukkah without Christmas, and some of our,
And by the way, that's not to say that there is anything wrong with buying gifts for people.
no, there's
That
not.
it's
Please don't hear that. Yeah.
that's actually giving.
No, that is giving.
But
It's
when you let your kids talk you into, okay, I'm probably not stepping on toes. I shouldn't be stepping on here, but
well, here's the thing. Let's put it this way, Russell.
you
When
want
you
them to buy
equivocate,
you, the most expensive thing, and
right?
then the parents go deep into debt to do it. I'm not sure that that's good for anybody. It's
No.
not teaching the
Or
kids, some things that maybe they should be taught, for
right.
one
Or when
thing.
you equivocate giving the gift with love,
Yeah, because that's really
because
not
how
it.
big the gift is how much I love you.
Right.
Or
Right.
how expensive
Right.
the gift is with how much I love
Yeah,
you.
and that's we just know that that's not true.
Yeah.
And and when people say you can't outgive God, the real truth of that is not found in anything other than the cross.
Absolutely.
That is the ultimate gift.
Absolutely.
Salvation through the shed blood
Right.
of the Messiah.
And
That is the ultimate gift.
God is on record so many times. If you walk through Scripture, from Genesis all the way to maps, of how much He loves us and
Mhm.
He gives sacrificially, and it's not always stuff. He gives of Himself, and that I
Yeah.
think sometimes we give and we go, well, I got you something. How about you give yourself? How about you give some time?
Well,
Spend
that's
some
a
time.
really good Christmas discussion about Hanukkah there.
Thank you.
that
That was.
we just did.
I mean, we didn't
just
even go into
walked
the
through.
Maccabees or anything else. That was free for all of
Yeah.
you. But let's get that will
Let's
be on
get back on
our
topic.
on our Christmas. We were off topic. We were still on point, but
But on point,
we
yes.
were off topic. No, but let's we had so talking about the first night of Hanukkah, there was in Australia. There
Mhm.
was there was a very bloody active shooter situation where 15 people in Australia lost their lives. Again,
Yeah.
it's a good thing Australia has just such prohibitive gun laws because nobody had a gun except for the people who don't follow those laws.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't
evidently,
get me started on that one,
don't
my
get me
friend.
started. No, I know, but now I will say this because I don't want people going, well, you don't understand. We do know that the guy had these guns legally, so that's
Yeah.
I don't want to be too harsh. I mean, he evidently he had them legally. We don't know the reasons and everything else, but we do know that it was perpetrated against the Jewish people um, on the first night of Hanukkah, and so yet again we see Russell, what we've kind of been talking about and everything else, and that is again anti-Semitism, and this idea that for some reason the Jewish people um, are taking a hit yet again. And it's interesting. From the Daily Wire, just before we were getting ready to record this show, Netanyahu had warned Australia of rising anti-Semitism and told them you need to be careful. Prior to Hanukkah, he had said you really need to be
Wow.
careful, and they did not heed his warning, evidently.
Yeah.
And some of our other team had done some research. Travis and James had done some research, and they said also the police's response was not the best. They were there on the scene, kind of just containing, I guess, for I don't want to put a minute value on it because I don't know if we know the words were about around, so I don't want to put a minute value, but it was a while before they actually went in and got it, took care of the shooter and everything else. But there was a civilian who jumped in and subdued the person, and the father son duo who did this. And so again, though, we find that Jewish people, Judeo so Judeo and Judeo-Christian values are really taking a beating. They really seem to be in the crosshairs of a lot of people. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That is so true. And I think I know in this country broadly, there's two reasons. There's more than that, but there's two broad reasons I think that has happened. One is, with all love and respect to our Jewish neighbors, Jewish people have largely voted for an ideology over the decades, especially since the 60s, that has led to this happening. And I know people don't want to hear that, and it's okay, you can reject it. But a friend of mine used to say, light rejected becomes lightning. And we're seeing that. We're
Yeah.
seeing this anti-Semitism is an outworking of supporting political agendas and parties and so forth that were that had that latently within their ideological framework to begin with. And so you plant bad seed, you harvest bad fruit. So
Well, and
that's the first thing. The second thing is the watering down and the nicing down of the Christian message.
Yeah.
In other words, like we've mentioned on here before several times, the 11th commandment, thou shalt be nice,
or not
has
a
kind of,
yeah.
which is not really a command, right?
No.
That's a contrived command, but that has preempted and really marginalized the actual Christian message and the actual, but the Judeo-Christian ethic you just mentioned has become passé in a lot of ways because of these two things.
Yeah. And you're not wrong. And I think that's, to me, where we find ourselves in that proverbial rock in a hard place, because people have gotten so used to being nice and having everyone being nice to them. Give you an example. In churches, it's not hard. It's just not well received. And you and I had talked about this. People will leave. People will whatever. They'll go. And, it's interesting. Scripture talks about this, that in the end times, people will want to have their ears tickled to
Right.
to do. But people, it's hard to preach a message on sin. It's hard to, that
Mhm.
I'm not talking about the turn or burn. I'm not sure how I feel, with people turn or burn is a little, okay, it worked, but I think when you look at Jesus and how
People are too childishly sensitive today
to handle that,
to
but
hear that, and then they act like they're being intellectual by rejecting the message,
right.
but really people are just too much unwilling to hear
Yeah,
a truth proposition presented
right. And
plainly.
I think, and I don't
and with
even,
conviction.
not even the turn or burn, but just like Jesus did, where he would let's use the woman at the well, like when you call and you say, okay, what you're doing now is sin. How about we go and sin no more? Not
Yeah.
wagging a finger. We're not wagging a finger and you're going, but hey, wait, stop. let's just look at the
But it's the same. It's the same messages, and the smoke of their torment ascends up day and night, and
yeah,
they have no rest or night.
yeah.
That worship the beast and so forth. I mean, it's the same New Testament that
It
says
is.
those two things.
It
And
is.
so,
So I mean, but it's interesting. It's hard to spiritual discipline, correction, good godly church correction, church discipline. When
yeah,
when people are misbehaving, I mean, really, like we're talking about, hey, we're talking about people. We are slandering people.
yeah,
We're speaking against the pastor. I mean, Russell, you and I know this. It's funny because especially in a Messianic congregation, this is used, I think, at times. I know it was when you and I weren't the same one. When you start talking about uh, the elders or the rabbi, usually in a Messianic congregation, the sons of Korah, or Korah, not the sons of Korah, but Korah comes up because he spoke against Moses and it did not go well. It
right.
was the Lord did not handle that situation in a very, all right, let's just calm down. No, he just opened up the ground, swallowed him up, and it was done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you go, well, that was harsh. Okay, but let me just say this: what would we do today if that was what would happen? We'd be like, well, that I don't. We were just speaking truth. Were you though? Were you?
What about it being harsh?
No, because what people do is they guys gossip, they guys slander in the
Oh,
form
got it.
of
Yeah, yeah.
well,
It's
no,
like prayer gossiping
yeah,
too, right?
exactly right. Yeah, I love that when people do that. You're going around the prayer circle, and so what they do is so that they can talk about so and so. Well, we need to pray for sister so and so, brother who's it,
Yeah,
because they're dealing with, and then they just put their business on the street,
right.
you know. Um, and I'm like, that's pretty awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's not like, let me be clear, because people out there will get all bent out of shape. I'm not saying, hey, so and so went into the hospital, they had a heart attack, let's pray for them. That's not what I'm saying. Okay.
Right.
They're saying
Right.
things like, oh, we need to pray for brother so and so. I think he might be dealing with lustful thoughts in his heart because I saw a woman go into his house and we don't know what that means. You don't know what that means. So you
Right.
need to stop. You're literally just spreading what you heard, or I heard it at his job. You don't know. So stop. Somebody went into the hospital and they had a
Yeah.
broken leg, they had a cardiac event, whatever. That's fine. You got facts on the ground. But when it's something where you're just kind of, sprinkling things around to,
Yes.
to, to cause discord or to because you like being in the know or whatever, but see, that's where I think again we go back to we as the church have not been good um at being unified ourselves. So what ends
Mhm.
up happening is it's easy for the enemy to come in. It's easy for the church to come in, or excuse me, for the world to come in, and
Yeah.
then we get blown over. And they point at us. Y'all can't even get along,
Yeah.
and they're not wrong. And then all of a sudden, when things like this happen in it wasn't Sydney. It was Bondi Beach. When it happens
Okay.
at Bondi Beach, when we have these things happen, when it happens, whether it's in America, whether it's in wherever, well, what are y'all going to do? You can't get along. You don't get along. Well, why are you looking at us and pointing a finger at us? You do the same thing, just without it, And that's why I think in Scripture it's so clear where Jesus is, Paul or the apostles are talking to the churches, and they're saying, you guys have to get along. You have to do everything that is within your power to live peaceably among you, because they're going to look to you. They're going to look
Mhm.
at you, and they better see me. And I'm not sure we're doing a fantastic job as we should of doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe individually, but corporately,
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're doing a good job.
Agreed.
And that's a referendum on us. It
Oh
never,
yeah. Oh yeah.
it can't be. It's not a referendum on God or Jesus, because again, how you can't have a referendum on perfect. We're not following correctly. I saw a bumper sticker at one point and it said, "I sure do love God. It's his kids I can't stand." Or I don't know, I love Jesus. It's his kids I can't say.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Well, I mean, Gandhi said something like that. I love their Christ. It's the Christians I have a hard time with.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when people say that, let's just be honest on all sides, because I think that is a largely accurate statement, but it's also revelatory of the person making the comment too.
It is. But we should be, again, it goes back. I think there's a fine line, because there are times people don't like us because we do hold the line of, you know, walking out what Jesus said, and so sin is not okay, and we will not okay it.
Right.
But I
Right.
think there's also a way in which we will demonize a person instead of, Jesus didn't demonize the people. He didn't demonize that woman at the well, but he sure enough held that line and said that sin's not okay.
Yeah.
Now go and it, you know what's like, what I find fascinating about that story? He told her sin, and was so charismatic, evidently, in the way that he did it. She ran home, and she didn't say to the people, "You got to come see this guy. You got to check this out." She said, "Come and see the person who told me all the things I've ever done wrong."
Right.
She was
Right.
so taken by him that she
Mhm.
said, "You have got to come see this guy who told me all the things that I have ever done wrong." That's how good he was at not only
Yeah.
holding the line, but dealing with her on that personal level.
Mhm.
She wanted everybody else to come so they could find out what they done wrong, and then again make the change.
Yeah. I mean, he said things both in John chapter 3 and John chapter 4 that people read it and they go, "Oh, isn't this beautiful, wonderful?" Actually, if you really read it honestly, he said some stuff that if it were you sitting opposite
Yeah.
him, you'd get really upset with him.
Well,
Uh,
yeah. Well, that's like the
you
woman
know, when
caught.
you're asking Nicodemus,
Yeah.
who's one of the lead Pharisees of the day, "Are you a teacher in Israel and you don't understand these things?" When
Yeah.
he's asking him about being born again and
Right.
being born of water and being
Yeah.
born of the Spirit and that sort of thing, and then he asked the woman at the well, or actually tells her, "Yeah, that's true. He tells her all about her multiple marriages, and the
Yeah.
man that you're with right now isn't your husband." I mean,
Right.
just revelatory as to, you know, the thing that points to the problem that they
Right.
have,
Yeah.
even as they're trying to posture as being somebody better than that, you know.
Well, and
And that's really the common problem with humanity,
it
is it
is.
not?
No, it.
That we want to esteem ourselves as
Yeah.
something much nobler and higher than what we actually are as a race.
You know what I think is interesting too, though, Russell, and people don't realize this. You do, I know, because again, when you read scripture, you read that depth. But think about this, understanding the culture, and I know you do. When he said to her, "Now go and sin no more,"
Right.
that upended her world. She didn't know where her next meal
Yeah.
was coming from. She had no place to stay. She is a woman in a society in which she had, you know, again, it's a patriarchal society. I'm not going to apologize. I mean, the Bible is what it is. It's history. So all of a sudden, she doesn't necessarily know where her next meal is coming from. She
But at
doesn't know
least
where
she
she's
has a next meal and she may not have had one.
right. We don't know where she doesn't know where she's going to stay if she's going to go and sin no more. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things when
Yeah.
Jesus makes this
Yeah, I
statement,
see what
"Go
you're
and
saying.
sin no more."
Yeah.
It is a
Now that assumes that she was getting her meals from doing a particular activity,
right.
but we
Well,
don't know that that was the
we don't
case
know that
either.
that was the case. But again, if she was kind of don't have adultery at this point, that means if the person she's with now wasn't her husband, she has to go reconcile with
You're
her
talking
husband,
about the woman at the
the
well.
woman at the well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I was conflating her a little bit with John chapter 8. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We don't necessarily know. Maybe she didn't know, you know,
Right.
what was going to happen
But
next.
she
Yeah.
but she didn't care because she had had such an encounter. She's like, you know what? Well, that's what I'm going to do. And she went and told everybody, "You got to come see this guy."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and again, it goes back to an encounter with Jesus. Just presupposes, okay, the faith that I'm going to have, because an encounter is life changing, but it's
Right.
life changing in a lot of ways. Everybody always has this rosy, everything's just so awesome, and God goes, "Yeah, but we got to clean out a little bit of muck here." And sometimes muck cleaning is not as fun as these. It's not roses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta do the work. And I think that's the thing that sometimes people don't understand, because I have heard people reference that story so many times. And you know what they say? "Well, I'm glad Jesus deals with me like that." Really? I don't think you understand the story.
Yeah.
It goes, I'm not sure people understand the
Yeah. I
story,
mean, he
but
knows you just as well as he knows
right.
her.
Right,
He
exactly.
knows all of us just that well,
Yeah,
and that was exactly why he came
right.
to die as the sacrifice, the eternal sacrifice for sins. That's why.
So yeah, and I think that, again, to now we are a little off topic, still on point. I think the reason that this
We're
story,
doing that a lot this
we
podcast
look,
episode.
it's a good thing it's our name. I think the reason that this is so on point though is because, again, how does this tie into Hanukkah? How does this tie into what we were talking about in on Bondi
Yeah,
Beach? It's incumbent upon us to reflect. If people say of us, you know what, we don't like you, you don't have a right to exist, you whatever, because we see in you a God we hate. Okay, that's fine. The Bible talks about that happening.
hmm
But if it's because they see something and they say, "Hey," now again, I want to be clear. Let me stop before I say what I'm about to say. There is no reason for what happened on Bondi Beach. It is a tragedy, and our hearts go out and our prayers go out to the victims. What I'm saying is now, one of the things that is incumbent upon us as believers, um, is to, in all that we do, is to reflect the image
yeah,
of the Lord as it relates to other people who are non-believers, but as it relates to each other, so that
yeah,
people can see the Lord in all that we do and in our responses. How do we reach out? How do we do things? And when we don't, sometimes, and I don't know that this is the reason for anybody. Sometimes people just have hate, and it doesn't matter who, and it's, whatever. But if we are truly united in purpose and we begin to reflect the Lord, and it doesn't mean that there's no denominations, it doesn't, but if we begin to reach out together in purpose to live like the Bible talks about, peacefully among you as much as is within your power, and there's harmony, and then there's unity of purpose in reflecting the Lord and less
right.
infighting, then at least at that point, you we start to become above reproach. You know what I'm saying? And I think
hmm
and I'm not, please understand, this is not a reflection of the Bondi Beach people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, when we do this, what we need to begin, I think, to do is we need to begin to, all of us, take a look at ourselves and how are we treating other people? How are we,
Yeah,
what are we doing that we can say, you know what, like these people who died for their, they were celebrating Hanukkah. How am I living? How am I living toward my fellow believers? Am I leaving a legacy that says this person absolutely reflected the face of the Lord in all things? And I think that's kind of the thing that I'm really saying about that is, are we leaving a legacy of reflection of who we serve, or are there really areas where it's like, well, I mean, if you don't count this whole swath over here is pretty good, you know? And whenever I see these kind of things, I always think, what would happen and what would people say? What's that legacy that I leave,
yeah.
behind? And there is no reason for what happened, and our hearts and prayers, again, I want to say it
There's no
again,
no justification. There's
go out
never
to
a
the victims. No,
justification for
it's just,
something like that.
for me, I just think about the lessons that can be learned in my own life spiritually from what those martyrs um, went through, and,
hmm
and did. What can I do so that if I'm ever faced with that situation, I can leave a
Yeah,
legacy of, somebody who served the Lord with all their heart in
yeah.
all
So
those areas.
if there's, it's right now for whatever the timing reason is, um, it's risky to practice your Judaism publicly, and it's risky for Christians to practice their Christian faith publicly
Yeah,
in so many areas right now, in so many parts of the world, including in some areas of these United States.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I think it is a healthy thing to reflect on what happens if I am facing a potential martyr's death. Am I ready to do that? What is
yeah,
it in my discipleship walk that is preparing me for that?
yeah,
Is it making sure that I don't offend anybody? Is it making sure that I correct people when they offend me? Is it making sure that I'm offended at all the woke stuff and that I
Right.
because I'm woke, and so I want to make sure that everybody knows that I am a social justice warrior Christian or what. None of that stuff is going to prepare you.
Right.
The only thing that can prepare you for that is to build your faith in the Lord Himself.
Yeah.
And to understand that He has raised you up for such a time as this, and to walk in that and to grow stronger in that.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only thing that will do it. Playing these fake games, and that's what a lot of this stuff is actually what brings us to a point such as the one that we're at right now.
Yeah.
People are not going to respect a faith that is playing the silly little games that have been played by a lot of Christians over the course of my lifetime.
Right.
That I can assure you.
Sure.
There's no fear of God, because we haven't presented a fear of God in our walk as a church. There is no respect for the Holy Spirit and His power here in the earth right now, because we walk like there is no Holy Spirit.
Yep.
And we could keep going from there. And so the world looks at us, they go, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certainly exceptions to the rule. There's always exceptions. There's always a remnant of people that do walk well, but most people don't encounter those few people. And that's part of the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
so to what happened in Australia, and to the other atrocities that have happened in recent history,
Nigeria,
and to God forbid the ones that will happen probably in the days to come.
Yeah.
We have got to see that as a clarion call in the body of Messiah for proper action.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, we've definitely talked about that. I'm sure there's more we can and will say in future and upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
But let's pay some bills.
Okay.
One of our sponsors on Off Topic On Point is Mountain Mowers LLC. So if you're in the Tri-County area, they're your local experts for keeping your yard looking its best. Whether it's mowing, trimming, or full lawn care, Mountain Mowers have you covered. With reliable service and a personal touch, they know every yard is different, and they treat yours like their own. If you're ready for a lawn that stands out without all the hassle, call Mountain Mowers LLC today at 276-730-8230. Mountain Mowers. They cut grass, not corners, and we love Mountain Mowers. Give them a call. They'll treat you right. So, Russell, at this point, I think we have reached the end of this episode. As always, my friend, it's been good. It's been fun.
Yes.
So we've had a good time, and so if you like it, like, subscribe, leave us comments. We'd love to talk to you. If you'd like to email us, you can do so at otopnow@gmail.com, and we will respond. And like I said, like, subscribe, share. Bring somebody into the OTOP family. That'll help us. That'll help them,
absolutely.
I'm sure. So share it with all your friends and family, and bring them into the OTOP family. Tell them we don't ask for much, just once a week, and give us a try, and we'll grow on you like fungus, like mushrooms on a log, So, but anyway,
I love your analogies.
So anyway, Russell, it's been great, and we will see you guys on the next episode of Off Topic On Point. And remember. You do not have to be
Hanukkah. Don't forget that.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah. Hope you guys have a good one. And remember, you don't have to be on topic. You can be off topic, but you must be on point. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening today to Off Topic On Point. We want to remind you of our email address if you'd like to contact us. It's otopnow@gmail.com. That's otopnow@gmail.com. And as always, we want to leave you with this. It's okay to be off topic. Just make sure you're always on point. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.